It was a nice evening and I decided to head out and see if I could get a rabbit or two. But I started around the back of this pig house on the farm I was shooting over to see if I could find any rat runs or rat holes, something that might come in handy later on. When I noticed in the field, the other side of the laneway, a rabbit sitting just outside of the nettles. So the easiest way to get a shot at him was to cautiously make my way up on top of all this brick and rubble here, hoping that I wouldn't spook the rabbit or break my neck in the process. But once I got somewhere stable enough to sit down for a shot, I ranged the rabbit to see how far it was. It seemed to be a nice 40 yards to the thicket of the hedge, as it was hard to get a proper range off of the rabbit with the ranch fencing in the road. But I've made out a little click chart, and it was telling me how many clicks I needed for 40 yards. So I adjusted my elevation turret to give me a dead on hold in between the ranch fencing, and took the shot, knocking the rabbit into the hedge. The Nikko Stirling 4-16x44 Targetmaster I'm using is fairly nice and easy to adjust the elevation, but it uses 1/8 clicks, which I don't like, as everything needs twice as many clicks. I couldn't see the rabbit went forward, but I could see a wee drop of blood at the edge of the grass where it hit him, so I knew he couldn't be too far away. And thankfully when I put my arm down into the grass and under the barbed wire, I managed to grab a hold of the rabbit and pull him out, stone dead. So I gave his belly a wee squeeze. Thankfully there wasn't really any urine in it to evacuate out before I put him into the game bag. But as soon as I got to my feet, I realised there was another rabbit or two about the field. It was a good distance away and there wasn't really any cover between me and the rabbit, but I managed to get a clump of weeds between me and the rabbit to stop the rabbit from seeing me, and kept myself low and slowly walked up the field. Once I got within about 35 yards, I'm using my .22 caliber BSA Superten, running at about 15 foot-pounds energy. Again, I adjusted the elevation turret to suit the range I was shooting over so I could aim dead on. It takes a wee bit more time than allowing holdover, but it's more exact. And drop the rabbit with a nice clean headshot. Just as I was resetting the turret for the scope, I realised that there was another rabbit or two at the far end of the field. Not that it's a very big field now. There was one here, the tip of the ears was just sitting up above the grass. And then there was a second one further along the field. Quite a light coloured rabbit, sitting with its back to me. I initially decided to try and stalk into the first rabbit, but as soon as I got within a shooting position, it cleared off, so I set my attention on the furthest rabbit, the light coloured rabbit, sitting with its back to me. The rabbits are used to cattle being in the field, so as long as you're not running about the place like an idiot and take your time, the rabbits don't look at you too much with danger. I ranged the target again. It was a wee bit difficult, but the nettles behind it seemed to be near enough 40 yards. So again I adjusted the elevation turret to give me a dead on hold at 40 yards. Took aim and squeezed the shot off, but the rabbit must have been sitting further out from the hedge than I realised, and the pellet went high, piercing the rabbit's ears. A close miss, but still a miss. So I headed back to gather up what I just shot. It's actually quite a bloody hit. Usually you don't get that much blood with a headshot, but I think there's a slight hint of maximatosis in its eyes. But it was a good clean kill. So after I picked up my game bag, I headed on up the other end of the field again to see if there was anything in the next field just round the corner. I'm just wearing my old work boots, that's why they look so dusty, but they're fairly quiet and comfortable. As I got to the corner, I could just about see a rabbit sitting fairly close to me in the neighbouring field, and I edged forward to get a steady aim off the top of that fencing, but he saw the movement and ran off out of sight. But just in case he was still inside the field, I manoeuvred myself round a wee bit so I could get a better view of down along the hedge line. And sure enough, he was still sitting out there. Not the best camera picture, but you can still just about see the back end of the rabbit. And I took him with a freehand standing headshot at about 25 yards. Still chuffed at my shot, I suddenly realised, where on earth's my shooting sticks? I wouldn't be the first set I left behind me somewhere. But I dandered round to pick up the rabbit I just shot. It was a nice headshot, just at the base of the ear. And I shook the thick blood out of the ears and gave his belly a squeeze to get rid of any urine before I put him into the game bag. The last time I was in this field, it was a lot greener and the weeds were a lot shorter, making it somewhat easier to spot the rabbits. But I slowly made my way along, keeping my eyes open for any movement. And sure enough, at the bottom of the field there was a rabbit out. but I could just about see him over the top of the weeds standing, so I definitely wasn't going to try a shot like that. I needed to make my way down the slope a wee bit so I could get into a sitting position and get a clear shot through the weeds. Once I was happy I was within range, I got into a sitting position. The first rabbit I was looking at was still there, but I spotted an easier target a little further down the hedgerow. It was a much clearer shot through the weeds than the original rabbit I was looking at, but it was about 40 yards away, and again I adjusted the elevation turret for that distance, aimed for the back of his head, and just put the shot over the top of him. I don't know how I missed him, but I reloaded and tracked him through the scope, hoping that we'd get a second shot, and he paused just at the top of the bank there, and I managed to take him with a second shot. Then quickly followed it with another one, just to make sure of it. Rangefinders aren't always 100% accurate, nor is the fella behind the gun, of course, but it's either that or marksmanship that I missed him the first time. I was nicely nailed through the head there, but the same as most rabbits this time of year, he was absolutely hiving with fleas. I've never been bothered by fleas now. I don't remember ever seeing them on me or my clothes, or even remember being bit by one, but I do know the rabbits are quite full of them this time of year. So with the evening drawing in, I decided to head back to the van and retrace my steps, hoping to find my shooting sticks, which I thankfully did find later on, as I had left them behind me in the field once doing a piece for the camera. But I've got 4 rabbits in the bag, and it's been a very nice evening.